Hello everyone, I'm Kat from the Littlestown Library of the Adams County Library System, and welcome to the first Tiny Art for Adults and Teens of 2021. Today we are going to be painting a winter aurora landscape. So that is what we are going to be painting today. If you signed up for an art kit, then these are the materials that you will receive in your kit. You will get a blank canvas, a blank 4x4 canvas, a tiny easel, a paintbrush, and you will also get 6 paint pots with the different colors. So the colors you'll be receiving are royal blue, teal, mint green, or leaf green, depending on what you want to call it, yellow, black, and also white. So those are the 6 colors that you will need. I also recommend, if you can, get something to hold water in order to clean your brush. And you will also need paper towels, also to clean your brush, and also as a place, something to put down for your canvas, so that way you don't get paint everywhere. So those are the materials that you will get in the art kit if you signed up for it, or if you have those supplies at home, then you can use those instead. So without further ado, let's get painting. Okay, so the first color you're going to want to take is the royal blue. And start putting that across the top corner in kind of a diagonal sort of shape. This will be the dark sky. I'm kind of slanting mine a little bit more. And don't forget to paint the edges of your canvas as well. And then once you've got part of the top corner done, then you'll want to do down here along the bottom as well, also slanting in the same direction. A lot of this will be covered up later, but it is to give a continuous, sort of a continuous feel for the sky, even when you can't see it. And it's okay if it's a little lighter along the edge there. We just want to make sure it's darkest in the corners. And then it's okay if it lightens up a bit towards the middle. And again, don't forget to get the edges of your canvas as well. Since mine's a thicker canvas, I'm going to use a little bit more paint than you will, but that's okay. But just make sure you get the edges. So that way it just feels more continuous, like it all belongs in one piece. Okay, so once you have the corners done there, then you want to clean your brush, wipe it off. And then you will want some teal. I want to take that next and do that along the edge here. I recommend putting some down first, a little bit separate, so that way you have some that's its own color, and then you can work on blending it like this with the royal blue. So get some more, blend those together. Two together there. And if we need to, we can always go back and touch up the royal blue a little bit better once it's dried a bit. So we've got our teal blending through here. It's a nice thing about doing anything with sky scenes. Sky scenes are very forgiving, because you know, whenever you look at a sunset, it's always going to look different. A night sky is always going to look different from day to day, so don't worry about anything being exact, because this is a sky and it will be pretty much however you want it. So as long as you're using the basic colors in roughly the right order, then you're fine. Okay, so once you have your teal down and more or less blended there, then we want to take our lighter green, our mint green, and do the same thing. This is sort of the brighter strip in the middle of the Aurora. I know this looks really weird to start with. Like I said, a lot of the sky stuff is just blending things, and believe me, that makes it look so much better. If you want to dampen your brush a little bit and use that to help with blending, you can do that. Just if you decide to use water to help blend, just make sure it's very little, because it's really easy to make these things run. And watercolor is not my forte. Maybe some of you have had more experience with that, but I'm not particularly good with it myself, so that's why we're sticking with the acrylic here, because it's a lot more flexible and forgiving, particularly if painting is not something you do on a regular basis. But sometimes a little bit of damp can help everything blend a little better. You just don't want to have really sharp streaks. You want to make sure that everything is blending, so that way it doesn't look like there's a striped shirt in the sky rather than an actual Aurora here. And again, you can always, if you're not happy with something or you think that one section's a little bit too light, like I'm taking some more of the teal across the bottom here and blending that more so there's more of the teal and a little less of the lighter green, and making that blend a little bit better. And it's okay if you kind of go over, just don't paint in that last little white bit in the middle quite yet. We're not quite ready for that. And I'm going to take just a little bit more of the royal blue and try to blend down in here a little more. I don't feel like the blending quite. But see, now I got a little bit too much, so now I'll need to grab a little teal and blend that back in a little bit better. So you see that smoothed it out a little bit more so that it blends. I think I'll do the same up in here, a little bit of royal to help blend with the teal. There we go, that looks better. Okay, and I'll probably go back over this part here and darken that up once it's dried a little. So I'm going to leave that alone for now. Clean our brush, and now we want just a little bit of yellow to give that proper Aurora streak there, since Auroras have lots of different colors, but most notably like the greens and yellows. So there we go, right there. And I'm just kind of doing the straight strokes because that's easiest. But if you wanted to make it more wavy, you could certainly do that if you felt comfortable doing that. I just find it easier just to do a straighter kind of stroke for that. Just because it's simpler that way, a little bit easier to control, and that way you're just going straight across the canvas rather than worrying about keeping things wavy. Okay. And I'm gonna get a little more of the light green. Blend that. More teal. So you can have the teal sort of. Just a little more teal. There we go. Streaking it in a little more. Making it more hazy looking. Alright, so we'll go on to the next step here. Okay, so now that the darker blue, since the royal blue, those sections have kind of been sitting for a little bit. Now we can go back. I'm going to darken those up a little bit more, since that's supposed to be the darker part of the night sky. So I'm just going over another layer of just the dark blue here, just to make it a little less streaky and to stand out a little more with the other colors, since it's supposed to be that dark night sky. You know, we're using the royal blue. Really the best color for this kind of thing would be the ultramarine blue, but getting true ultramarine is really expensive. So that's why we're going with royal blue, because that's a it's a close approximation. It's not perfect, but it gets the job done. And I think that that's kind of the important thing. As long as it's a dark blue, then you're okay. And look at that. That looks much nicer. You see how that got rid of a lot of the streakiness. With some of the glare from the light, you might not be able to see it quite as nicely in the video, but hopefully in person, when you're looking at your canvas, if you're following along to this point, you'll see how that has made everything much darker and much smoother, much more well blended down throughout there. Whoops. This thing likes to rock today. So here we go. And if you want, you can add a little bit more of the teal if you want to, if you feel like it needs to blend back in a little more, but beware of over blending. I've done that before. But again, since it's a sky, this is really, really forgiving. There's no wrong way to do a sky, quite honestly. So, and if there's a couple streaks here and there, that's fine, because it's an aurora. It's a, atmospheric phenomenon. It's not going to look uniform. So, for this next part, we're going to do the stars. I recommend laying your canvas down flat for this, which I'm going to do, and I'll adjust the camera for that. Make sure that you clean your brush really, really well, because we'll be using the white paint. And make sure that you have paper towels or a paper plate or something to put your canvas on, because this can get a little bit messy. So let me adjust the canvas and then we'll bring back for that. Okay, so you can see that I've laid my canvas flat down. There's still a little bit of an angle with my camera, but it is flat. So then you want to take some of the white paint and put that on your brush, and then you can either tap the brush like this, or you can lay the brush over your finger and tap like that. So the goal is to just get little spatters of white paint, and sometimes there's a blob. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to have something a little more. It's okay, because I mean, you can have dots in there, but I wanted to get something that was a little bit more. Ooh. A little bit more. Whoop, this is not cooperating. Sorry. Whoa, I am flailing paint everywhere, except where I want it to go. Okay, well, I guess I got some shooting stars in here too, so that's fine. That's cool. There we go. Now we're getting a little... trying to get paint on the camera. Wow, well, my star field's not turning out very well today, is it? It's supposed to be spattering all over the place, but it is not wanting to do that. Let me get my brush a little bit damp. Maybe that'll help. No, actually, I need to try to break some of this up. Man, that was quite a... You know what? I am really not happy with that giant gloop in the middle of things. So I'm going to take a little piece of paper towel, and I'm going to try to wipe that up. And if all else fails, I can always paint over it, but I am really not happy with that giant gloop in the middle. So, Yeah, that kind of made it worse. Oh well. It's fine. It's fine. It'll all come out in the wash. All right, another technique that you can use is if you take your finger and kind of go like this along your brush. That can also get you paint spatter, but you got to make sure you angle it right. Otherwise, like I was doing before, you get spray and stars like everywhere except where you want it. So there we are. That's a little bit better. See, I'm getting little smaller spatters now. Yay! Okay, so apparently that worked better for this one. Alrighty. So I've got some shooting stars in there, and try to break some of these bigger clumps up so they're not quite so big. Now the good news is we'll be doing trees in a little bit once this is dried. So if you ever have a spot that's particularly egregious, then you can just put a tree over it. So we're gonna let this dry, and then we will be back for the trees, and I'll have it readjusted again. Okay, so once your stars have dried, which might take longer if you've got lots of goops and blobs like I did, then we want to take your black paint and right along the bottom here, just get this back just a little bit so you can see, then we want to make a landscape. Now, you can do this as high as you want to. If you want the landscape, the trees and the hills or the horizon line to be really close, then you make it up higher. If you want it farther away, more like you're looking into the distance, then you'll make it smaller. I'm going to go ahead and make mine a relatively small part, so I'm just going to take this is why I said don't worry if you screw up down here, because you can just paint over it. Woohoo! Which might take a second coat depending on how thick the black paint's coming out, but you just want to kind of, you know, go across here. I'm having it kind of be a little bit of a hill, because I want to cover up that one star that I don't really like. Just kind of go across, making sure I get the sides there. So again, you can make this as hilly or as level as you want. I've kind of got a little bit of a crest here, and then kind of going back down again. So that's kind of what mine looks like. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put trees in. Again, if you want them to be close up, then you can make them really tall and really big, or you can do them, you know, more in the distance. So I'm going to do mine kind of halfway. So I'm going to do a line. Oh, that was kind of thick. Oh well. But do a line there, and to put, well, you know what, I'll just do one tree to start, and that way you can get the idea. So this actually works better if you have a slightly larger brush, but then you just kind of want to do something like this, so you get the impression of the, whoops, sorry, my hand was in the way there. Try to do it on this side so you kind of get an idea, but it looks a bit like that, where you start off kind of small at the top. And then you stick out wider at the bottom. So I'm just dabbing, like my brush, because it's been used, kind of has, the bristles are kind of sticking to the sides, so it's making it a little bit easier to get that tree effect, that sort of leaf effect. So I'm just kind of going along there to give kind of a pine tree. This is kind of a pine tree look to it, like we're up in the Great White North in Alaska or Canada or something like that. So there you see we have a fairly respectable tree. You know, we can still see through, you know, the leaves and everything. And I'm kind of giving it a little more of a point. Just kind of. There we go. So again, if you wanted it to be closer, you could make it, you know, go really big and bushy. If you wanted them just to be little itty bitty teeny tinies, then you can just do little, you would just do like a little one like that and just kind of doop-doo. Just kind of do a little, so you do one like that that's kind of further in the distance. Again, very impressionistic because these are all silhouettes, so, which is awesome. And I really don't like this star right here, so I'm putting a tree right there because I don't like that star and I think it was gloopy and horrible. And so I'm just gonna do that. See, this is why I love impressionistic style painting, because you can do stuff like this and it totally looks intentional. So just kind of doing a little, just dabbing. You don't want it to be solid black because it looks odd. You know, because when the light's shining from behind, it's kind of coming towards you. So, so you want to be able to see through the leaves, which is why I'm not making solid strokes. It's just kind of sticking through, so that way you can still see stars. So that way you can see it looks like these shooting stars are flying behind the tree, which is kind of cool. So you can get the idea there. So you can put as many trees or as few as you want. I think, you know, I think I'm happy with that. I think I'm happy with that. I think three trees work for me. I'm good with that. Like I said, you can put as many on as you want. You know, if you want to have like a whole little forest, if you just want a couple trees, if you only want one tree, you could put one tree in there and that would be cool too. You know, however you want your painting to turn out. And again, these are nice where if you need to touch up, like some of these stars are a little gloopy looking up here. If I want to touch that up a little, I can, or I can just leave it as it is, which I think I'm just gonna leave it because I think that looks pretty good. So there you go. So just make sure that you clean your brush and make sure all your paints are closed when you're finished. But there you go. So you have a winter aurora landscape, which looks pretty cool. So hopefully you enjoyed this edition of the Tiny Art.